copy you. Everything is in order on board. We're ready for launch. We see Burlock 1 and Burlock 2 on video camera 1.
And you are hearing some conversations between the crew currently strapped inside that Soyuz MS-26 spacecraft, reporting that they are ready for launch. And we are at just under 6.5 minutes away from today's launch. Again, we had that readiness confirmed about 30 seconds ago at T-minus 7 minutes, and those pre-launch operations are now complete. The Soyuz booster is now ready for launch, and telemetry has been received from the rocket, indicating that all primary and backup systems are set to support today's liftoff. Launch today is precisely timed for the moment where the Earth's rotation will place the Baikonur Cosmodrome in the plane or corridor of the orbit of the space station, which is inclined at 51.6 degrees to either side of the equator. And we just heard confirmation that the launch key has been inserted at the launch bunker. It is a real key, a physical key, that transitions the launch sequence into automatic mode. In just a few seconds, launch control should report that the range at Baikonur is clear and that the Soyuz rocket will be ready to begin its journey. We are just under 5.5 minutes away from today's launch. We are about 5 minutes and 5 seconds away from today's launch. In just a few seconds, the onboard systems will be switched to onboard control, and the commander's cockpit displays and controls will be activated. And then the crew members will begin to close their helmets, which puts them on suit oxygen. And we just heard confirmation that the fuel lines and other elements of the rocket engines are being purged with nitrogen to fireproof them by removing vapors of fuel and oxidizer. And you are now seeing a live look of the Soyuz 2.1A booster with the Soyuz MS-26 spacecraft atop at the launch pad in Baikonur. And we are now at 4 minutes and 15 seconds away from today's launch of the Soyuz. Today's launch, again, is scheduled for 11:23 a.m. Central Time, 9:23 p.m. in Baikonur. Coming up in about a minute, this optimizes the fuel and helps to add structural support to the rocket. We are now about 3 minutes and 45 seconds away from today's launch. Everything continuing to proceed as planned with no issues being reported from the blockhouse in Baikonur. We are now just over 3 minutes and 15 seconds away from today's launch. In less than 30 seconds, we will see that milestone where the booster's fuel tanks will be pressurized for a flight, completely pressurized, and this helps to optimize the flow of fuel and again add some of that structural support to the rocket. After that, at about T-minus...
You have oxidizer and fuel drain and safety valves of launch vehicle closed. Block 1, copy all. Everything is fine on board. The crew members are feeling well. Copy.
And you just heard some words there between the crew in Soyuz, confirming that all 3 crew members are feeling well and prepared for today's launch. And we are just over 2.5 minutes from today's launch of the Soyuz MS-26 spacecraft carrying NASA astronaut Don Pettit and his Roscosmos crewmates Alexey, Ovchinin, and Ivan Vagner.
Booster propellant tank pressurization initiated.
And we just heard confirmation that the booster's fuel tanks are being pressurized for flight. We are about 2 minutes and 5 seconds away from today's launch. In just about 30 seconds from now, the ground propellant feed will be terminated. And then shortly after that, the Soyuz will be switched to internal power. We are just under 1 minute and 45 seconds away from today's launch. Just under 1.5 minutes to go until the launch of the Soyuz MS-26 spacecraft. We are at less than 1 minute and 10 seconds away from today's launch. The Soyuz will be switched to internal power shortly. And then about 30 seconds after that, the first umbilical tower will separate and we will have auto sequence start, and then the ground umbilical to the third stage will be disconnected, followed by the second umbilical tower separating with the launch command being issued. We are at 45 seconds away from today's launch and counting.
We have vehicle to internal power.
The first umbilical tower is now separating, and the Soyuz is on internal power. We have 20 seconds until launch and counting.
We have auto sequence initiated. Onboard power. We have oxygen.
We now have engine sequence start. The second umbilical tower is now separating. Engines are at maximum thrust, booster ignition at full throttle, and we have liftoff of Pettit, Ovchinin, and Vagner, now on their way to the International Space Station as part of a 2-orbit journey. We are seeing good vehicle parameters so far. Vehicle performance is continuing to look good.
Everything is stable. Photo walk 1, everything is stable on board. Remember, you're doing well. Copy.
We are now just over 1 minute into today's launch.
Yaw, pitch, and roll are nominal.
We are seeing good yaw, pitch, and roll, heading downrange.
Remember, there's no well. Copy.
We are just about 1 minute and 20 seconds into today's flight. The velocity is over 1,100 miles per hour. Everything continuing to proceed as planned. Just a few seconds, the escape tower will be jettisoned.
Thrusters are operating nominally.
We are about 1 minute and 55 seconds into today's launch. In just a few seconds, and we now see first stage separation. The crew members reported they are feeling well, and we are having good pitch, roll, and yaw of the vehicle. All parameters on the vehicle are normal. We are now about 2 minutes and 37 seconds into today's flight. The launch shroud will be jettisoned shortly. You are now seeing a live view from the Soyuz rocket. The vehicle is stable The Soyuz is currently traveling at a speed of about 4,700 miles an hour.
Parameters of the rocket booster, structural parameters are nominal. Copy you. Everything's fine on board. Crew members are feeling well. Copy.
We are about 3 minutes and 20 seconds into today's flight, about 5 minutes left until we reach orbital insertion. We heard confirmation that the second stage thruster continues to perform well.
Copy you, Burlock 1 reporting everything is fine on board and crew members are feeling well. Copy.
The vehicle control system performance continues to be good. We are about 3 minutes and 50 seconds into today's flight. In about a minute, we will see the third stage begin to ignite while the second stage begins to shut down. We have about 30 seconds left of second stage performance.
250 seconds are nominal. Burlock 1, everything is fine on board. Crew members are doing well. Copy.
We are 4 minutes and 45 seconds into today's flight. We have about 4 minutes of powered flight remaining.
Stage 3 thrusters on, 290 seconds.
And we just saw a second stage separation and the third stage has ignited.
That's Burlock 1. Everything's okay on board. We feel great.
Soyuz is now being propelled by the single engine of the Soyuz third stage.
310.
This engine is providing 67,000 pounds of thrust and will burn for about 4 minutes.
Everything's fine on board. Reporting Burlock 1. Copy.
We continue to see good structural parameters on the Soyuz vehicle. And the thrust on the third stage is performing well. We are about 5 minutes and 45 seconds into today's flight. We have about 3 minutes of powered flight remaining.
350 seconds, flight nominal. Burlock 1, copy you. All okay on board. The crew feels great. Standing by for 1932.
We continue to see good roll, pitch, and yaw program on the Soyuz spacecraft. And the vehicle structural parameters are still performing well and look good. We are about 6 minutes and 25 seconds into today's flight.
Stage 3 thrusters are nominal. Burlock 1, copy. All okay on board? Copy.
We have about 2 minutes of powered flight left.
$410 seconds, flight nominal. Burlock 1, copy. All okay on board? Copy.
And we are 7 minutes and 10 seconds into today's flight. Everything continuing to proceed as planned. Everything looking good for the ride to orbit for NASA astronaut Don Pettit and his Roscosmos crewmates Alexey Ovchinin and Vagner.
440 seconds. Vehicle is stable.
We are now 7 minutes and 30 seconds into today's flight. The vehicle remains stable. The velocity of the vehicle is now almost 13,500 miles an hour.
460 seconds. Launch vehicle parameters are nominal. Copy. Burlock 1, all okay on board. Copy.
We have less than a minute of powered flight remaining, and once the third stage delivers the Soyuz to orbit and the module is separated, a series of pre-programmed commands will be executed to prepare the Soyuz for orbital operations. These stored commands, called time-tagged commands, allow many of the Soyuz's systems to be automatically activated by onboard computers at precise times stored in those communicators.
90 seconds, vehicle stabilization is nominal.
We are now 8.5 minutes into today's flight and about 15 seconds away from third stage cutoff and separation. Roll, pitch, and yaw parameters continuing to be normal.
590 seconds, waiting for the separation.
And we now have confirmation of third stage separation. The single liquid-fueled engine has shut down and has dropped away at an altitude of about 126 miles. We are now standing by for solar array deployment.
Burlak, 77 Moscow.
And we have confirmation that the solar arrays and antennas have been deployed. And control of the spacecraft from here on out will be overseen by the Russian Mission Control Center in Koryov,
no issues. Working page 35.
outside of Moscow.
Copy, correct. 35, close RPV 1 and 2. RPV 1 and 2 are closed. Copy. Standing by for the compartment monitor AKG. 19, 32, 39, pressure NSR 803, MBO 831, and instrumentation compartment 836. Copy all. Next measurements in 5 minutes. Standing by for your steps on page 32. Please monitor RDR command execution and monitor number 1. Burlak 1, copy all.
Following a liftoff at 11:23 and 12 seconds a.m. Central Time, 9:23 and 12 seconds p.m. in Baikonur, and a 8-minute and 45-second ride to orbit, NASA astronaut Don Pettit and Roscosmos cosmonauts Alexey, Ovchinin, and Vagner are safely in orbit to begin their to-orbit journey.
Yes, correct.
With the trio now in orbit, there is a record of 19 people currently in orbit in space.
Are you ready to receive the data from 1926? Yes, we're ready. 17. 17.25, 18, 16.8, 19, 268, 20, 1.0, 21st, 1.8, 22, 341, 23rd, 339, 24th, 18.0, 25th, 17.8, 26, 267, fuel 88.
You are now seeing a view of the internal Soyuz control panel. This is what the Soyuz crew is currently seeing on board. Again, that Soyuz crew is comprised of NASA astronaut Don Pettit and Roscosmos cosmonauts Alexey, Ovchinin, and Vagner.
The long test of course 1 is complete.
The Soyuz crew, being carried inside that Soyuz MS-26 spacecraft, have now begun their short to-orbit chase to reach the International Space Station. Again, docking today is scheduled for 2:33 p.m. Central, 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time. So following a launch today at 11:23 and 12 seconds a.m. Central Time, 9:23 and 12 seconds p.m. in Baikonur, the vehicle saw good roll, pitch, and yaw parameters as it began heading downrange. We saw good performance from all three stages.
Current LOS 1943.
And at about 8 minutes and 45 seconds into today's flight, we saw that third stage cutoff and separation. And then the Soyuz capsule at that point and the crew inside were safely in orbit, and the spacecraft began automatically executing its pre-programmed commands to deploy the solar arrays and antennas. And we have received confirmation that that deployment was successful, and then control of the spacecraft is now being overseen by the Russian Mission Control Center in Koryov outside of Moscow, and you're seeing a live view of that mission control from the balcony.
Course 1 string test is complete, no issues.
Вас понял.
Copy.
Бурлаки, мы также ждем от вас 5 минут замера.
We're waiting for 5-minute AKG measurement.
Liftoff of a Soyuz 2.1A booster carrying the Soyuz MS-26 spacecraft with NASA astronaut Don Pettit and Roscosmos cosmonauts Alexey Ovchinin and Ivan Vagner occurred aboard on time at 11:23 and 12 seconds a.m. Central Time, 12:23 and 12 seconds p.m. Eastern Time, and 9:23 and 12 seconds p.m. in Baikonur from Launch Pad 6, Site 31 at the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan. All three stages operated as expected during an 8-minute and 45-second ride to place Soyuz in its preliminary orbit where it is now. The Soyuz spacecraft will now begin a short 2-orbit chase to arrive at its final destination, the International Space Station. Docking today is scheduled for 2:33 p.m. Central Time, 3:33 p.m. Eastern Time, with live NASA coverage beginning at 1:30 p.m. Central Time, 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. We will follow that up with live coverage of hatch opening and welcoming remarks beginning at 4:30 p.m. Central Time, 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Until then, this is Mission Control Houston.